I did choose a picture of Arya for this one. But here, I'll tell you what. I'll make this smaller and I'll open another picture to fill the gap. I was super lazy here and just grabbed one picture for the gap. But here is Arya returned to Westeros with her wolf. This was one of my favorite Winds of Winter previews that I did with Quinn, was the Arya one. And then I got back into it again when I tackled King Bran series. It was right after the show was over. And I got into, well, I was like, okay, if Bran's going to be king, then what the hell is that going to look like? And I figured out that, hang on. That's the problem. Figured out that it's going to be a green seer thing. It's not going to look like it is on the show where they're like, let's make the wheelchair kid a king. Because why not? You know? So, like... Yeah, which the medieval wheelchair is cool. I dug that. But Bran's throne is a weird throne, of course. It's like his mobility comes from his astral projection. So the King Bran series, one of the avenues it led me down was looking at the foreshadowing for Bran as a Warg king. Okay? And so let me look up. Because in ancient day, and this is one of my favorite topics actually, in ancient day, wargs were everywhere. It was a whole thing. That's very Lord of the Rings, that warg. Let's see here. That's a cool one. I'll put that up. Here's our honorary warg king. This is Stefan Kopinski. Boom. Okay, I'll make him lower. So in ancient day, Warg kings and Greenseer kings, friends, they were common. And of course they were, because they would have been so much more powerful than the other surrounding first men. And we hear a few tales about Warg kings, Greenseer kings, and stuff like that. Then we see Varamir Sixskins and his example of what he does with his little bit of power. He's not even that great of a skin changer. You know, Jon is stronger, he senses right away, but inexperienced, right? So maybe he's medium level. I mean, he does have, 6 skins or whatever, but mostly the point is that Varamir Sixskins uses his power to become a petty tyrant. He is absolutely awful, uses his shadow cat to force women to come to his cave, and then he kills their brothers and fathers and sons when they come to avenge. So this is a Q&A, by the way. So if you have questions and you want to support the program, there's a PayPal link below in the description. You can use the super chat function, or you can just type into the chat and hope for the best. But just a topic. It doesn't have to be a question. Just, can you talk about X, Y, or Z? Can you explain X, Y, or Z crazy theory that you have? That kind of thing. I kind of want to talk about the Hammer of the Waters tonight, so I'm going to get into that too. But one of the most interesting things about ancient Westeros that we can extrapolate, and especially like this is how George thinks about magic, right? I've often said that what George does with his tropes is that he pulls them into the mud. He does not avoid the tropes. He does all the fantasy tropes, but he says, well, what would it really be like to be the chosen one of destiny? Well, it'd be stressful. What would it be like to ride a dragon? Well, it'd be kind of scary for one, and then you might worry. You'd obsess about killing people by accident. Where do you feed them? Where do you keep them? You know, screw the Aragorn's tax policy. How do you train a dragon, right? Perfect example of how George makes... Oh, we'll talk about the finger bones. I've been thinking about the finger bones, actually. So Varamir shows us just what would happen if people could have warg powers. You know, Bran does a little bit too. You know, it's like Bran, he's borderline too young to know what he's, the full weight of what he's doing when he body snatches Hodor. But it does feel wrong to him, even still. He can tell that Hodor is cowering, And he's like, yeah, just for a minute. I just need this. Like, so he knows he's imposing a little bit. But he doesn't comprehend the unholiness of what he's actually doing, right? So, but that's what would happen. Like, people use power in pretty predictable ways. If you've ever been a part of any sort of activist organization or church group or school PTA or club or anything, any little group has group dynamics. It's because people act a certain way as far as climbing the ladder of hierarchy and social climbing, as they call it now, abuse of power, all the different dynamics that happen in a workplace or a group. It happens everywhere because people use power in predictable ways. So, Warg Kings are inevitable. Not only do we hear a few legends of them, the Marsh King of the Crandogmen seems to have been a green seer. They were riding lizard lions. The ancient Starks are implied as wargs with their wolf statues, and the fact that the modern Starks are all wargs. But we're even told the Starks went to war with a Warg King. And the Warg King, for Sea Dragon Point it was, and the Warg King went to war with all his beasts and green seers. Squisher King, bring that question back in just a second. That's a good one. So in order to defeat a Warg King who's going to war with green seers and skin changers, plural, you'd have to have some magic on your own. You'd have to have some sort of weapon to counter that. So, of course, the ancient Starks were Warg Kings themselves. This was Warg King versus Warg King. Also, two pieces of information are very important. Bran has 2 sets of green seer visions in his final chapter, which is one we should do a read-along of soon. The first one is when he's in his weirwood throne, right after he's eaten the weirwood paste. But then they bring him back to his bed chamber. They just lay him on a slab of rock or whatever. It's very, very cozy down there. Get some moss for a bed. And as he's watching the fire and falling asleep, he has a second set of visions. But the thing is, he's no longer in his weirwood throne. He's no longer touching any weirwood. He just starts having more visions. And they're the same types of visions. They're from the eyes of the Winterfell heart tree. So this tells us a very important thing, which is that green seers, once they're connected to the trees, they don't have to sit in their thrones to use the camera, if you will. Okay, once you've wed the tree and eaten the paste, then you can walk away from the weirwood throne and still use the tree vision. So when, happy 420 East Coast time. I guess I'll finish. I only smoked half of that. Rip. I had to pull it early so I didn't die on camera there. So if you can use the camera, as I say, after you walk away from the throne, imagine if Bran wasn't like a 10-year-old boy with broken legs, but Jon Snow. Okay? So if Bran had Jon Snow's physical attributes, well, now he's a green seer, but he could walk around and go into battle and swing a sword, but then stop and look out of any of the trees or look out of the eyes of the ravens and then come back to his body and fight. This would be a terrible power. No question, just praise Garth 420 AM. Thanks, Kiefer. You're a real one. Appreciate that. It is a little steampunk. It is. It's kind of spacey. Nebula Science. They do a lot of spacey kind of design. So you see where I'm going with this. Warg Kings and Green Seer Kings, powerful and terrifying. So not only is Bran going to be a Green Seer King, but Arya is essentially going to be a Warg Queen. She will be leading the wolf pack. You have to stop and think about what that means. First of all, she's already leading the wolf pack. She's doing it in her dreams in Westeros, and she's doing it remotely from Bravos, which is intense. She's asleep in Bravos and is able to lead the wolf pack every night. She does it every night in her dreams. She just goes right to her wolf and runs around and leads the wolf pack and terrorizes the Riverlands. So Arya is a very strong warg, and she's, I mean, there is a lot of foreshadowing, like the wordplay and the kind of thing, but like literally Arya is already leading the wolf pack. So when she comes to Westeros, they're literally going to greet her at the shore or at the first woods that she comes to. Like they will be ready for her. So whatever she does in Westeros will be with her wolves. And Arya leading the wolf pack is going to be an absolutely terrifying thing. She will be a full-on like warg queen. And I believe that her and Bran together, because Bran will be controlling wolves as well. I've picked up that foreshadowing. So it'll be Bran and Arya using those wolves. It's going to be kind of insane. So yeah, that's one thing we'll see in the Winds of Winter that I'm looking forward to that a lot of people aren't talking about as much. It's not just going to be like they'll show up at the last battle. Like they'll be doing, I think, like how are the, retaking Winterfell, retaking Riverrun, Project Stoneheart. I think we could see Arya and the Wolfpack meet up with that plot line. So, all right. That was a little opener for me, but we got a couple questions that came in. One from my new Facebook group moderator. Anu, pressure's on. Better perform, buddy. I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding. Anu, thanks for the question. In your esteemed opinion, how much is House Lannister / Tyrion a love letter to Jack Vance? A, 100%. B, completely. C, 200%. Nah, it's a joke. This is Anu's little line of research. So if any Jack Vance fans are in the chat, and of course George is a big Jack Vance fan, this is a thing. It totally is a thing. So Anu, you did a write-up and put it on our Facebook group. I don't know if you've got it anywhere you can drop a link to. You might be able to drop a link from your Facebook group post in the essay, actually, or in the chat. I think you can do that. So, yeah, if you'd like to. Any thoughts on Sansa's arc? Oh, yes. Warging birds. You're gosh darn right. She's going to warg some ravens. There's many reasons why she's going to do that. One, because it just makes sense. She doesn't have her wolf, but she's called Little Bird like 1,000 times. And ravens are the other preferred animal of skin changers. So Sansa wargs some ravens and crows and shit. That makes a ton of sense. But then there's also the Idun, or Idun. I think it's Idun. From Norse mythology. She's a goddess. It has to do with Sansa's apples and the sort of apples of wisdom that Idun possesses. It's Norse mythology. There is a whole legend about an eagle that abducts her and stuff. It's all parallel to what Peter Baelish is doing in the Eyrie. The fact that it's called the Eyrie makes it an eagle's nest. It's Thiazi, I think its name is the giant. Thiazi or Thijazi or something like that. Abducts Idun and she's rescued and they're turning into birds and back again. It's a whole cool... I'm going to do a video on it. It's a little fuzzy in my memory. I did the research a couple years ago and I forgot to sort of follow up, but absolutely Sansa is going to be warging ravens. And not only that, I think who's the stronger warg? I'd have to say Arya, because Jon doesn't really do it consciously. It's unknown what the potential is, but currently Arya is using her warg powers more. She is more practiced. Sansa's going to warg mockingbirds. I mean, she could warg... Once you start warging birds, you could probably grab any birds. The smarter the bird, the better. Like, don't warg a cockatiel. You'd be sitting there going... I guess, if you were sad, warging a cockatiel would be a great idea. You'd instantly be happy and joyful. You'd instantly start singing. Hasn't she accidentally warged the old dog in the Eyrie? I don't think so. I've read those chapters pretty close because there are theories about Sansa warging like men and using warg powers to influence men, which is not the thing in the books at all, and all kinds of stuff. But I don't think she has. Now, the dog, that would make sense if her warg powers started surfacing again. But the thing is, the direwolves are implied as magical. Like... The fact that all six Starks turned out wargs, the obvious reason is that they all got direwolves. And the Children of the Forest speak of the direwolves as like being kind of special. So I don't know if don't know if that's if you can just warg an old dog. Well, no, Varamir Sixskins, they were warging the family dog. I take that back. He, at the age of 6, warged the family dog just as, you know, reaching out with his instincts as a 6-year-old. So, yeah, actually, that easily could happen. I won't say definitively that it hasn't happened, but I didn't pick that up. And yes, I did. I'm pulling up Urtak's art right now. I haven't. He did. And yes. So there's a little bit of mystery around this. Our friend Urtach Altanaz, who we've had on this show, of course. We did a stream with Urtach in January. We went through a bunch of his art. He has made a Winds of Winter cover, which is friggin' awesome. I'm about to show it to you. And it is generating a little bit of scuttlebutt as far as like, oh, does this mean something about Winds coming soon? Because Urtach, he did the cover of Rise of the Dragon. And he is connected to the official powers that be. He is one of the top artists. He is somebody that they could potentially, and I'll cover up the chat for just a second, that they could potentially use. Okay. Actually, no, I can put it here. It's mostly the bottom half that we need to see anyways. I'll shrink myself for just a second. Sorry for the holes in the thing, but whatever. So there you go. It's got a few things going on with it. First of all, there's a Targaryen sigil at the bottom. You can see that embedded in the dragon. So dragon locked in ice. Hello. There we go. It's dragon glass, of course. And then you can see the weirwood eyes in the background, real faintly. So some pretty cool stuff going on there. I hope this is the official cover. Urtach has not said that it is. He just sort of put it out. Wink, wink. So it's like, is this just fan art that he's done? Or is this potentially going to be the cover that they've ordered up because Winds is close to being done? I don't know. We're all out of the guessing game business here, but it is generating a little bit of buzz. So, yeah. I have not spoken with Urtach, so I have no idea if this constitutes any sort of tea leaf or not. It's definitely a leaf-shaped blade, but I don't know if it's a tea leaf about Winds. But it is amazing. This, in my opinion, this would be the best looking book of the series if they make this the cover. So I hope this is the cover, and this is amazing. So there you go, Urtach. I'll go ahead and shrink it down a bit, and we'll put it right here. And I'll just get this screen back in order real quick. And I'll go back for there was a super chat or two. Thanks, guys. And I need to check on those PayPals too. PayPal's, I'm a little tight on money, guys. So if you PayPal me, you're going right to my heart as far as keeping me fed and stuff. Thanks, Michelle from earlier today. Appreciate that. And Muhanad's from just now. Thank you. There's a Melisandre question. Cool. So let me go back and get the super chat so I don't lose it, because I think there was one I missed. No, that was the news. Okay, I did get that one. Very good. It was oh, that's right. It was a chat question. Real quick, BGC Vedden. Is it possible the Valyrian Targaryen ritual of burning their dead was a remnant of a ritual to turn the dead into fire wraiths or ghosts to possess dragons? Yes, it could be either fire wights or part of the dragon thing. All of the Valyrian customs go back to the Long Night. You know, like the way that they make their steel is just a copy of the Lightbringer ritual. Like if they're forging magic swords and they're using blood magic to temper the swords, that's just copying Lightbringer. And they are making magic swords, which, should they catch on fire, would actually work well, because they wouldn't break, like Barrick's brittle sword. And a shout out to anyone having insomnia in America. Yeah, it's definitely dragon glass, yeah. Definitely dragon glass. So, so all the Valyrian rituals, essentially, we should look at as Long Night stuff. And the R'hllor stuff too. I unpacked a lot of that in the Melisandre Secrets series. So yeah, burning their dead. The wildlings also burn their dead. Why? Because of the whites. So this could be a long night ritual for a lot of reasons. Okay, so here's the question from Muhannad. Melisandre will try to burn Shireen, but I think there's going to be a big surprise. I think Shireen is the one more that Rhaegar spoke of in Dany's visions. Oh, wow. What now? She has dragon dreams? Unlike Dany, I think, with whom, by the way, she shares the title Princess of Dragonstone. Dany has several dragon dreams. She has the dragon dreams before the dragons hatch, so I'll just point that out. She's been told frightening stories of them. Yeah, no, the foreshadowing is that Shireen's going to get eaten by a dragon. I mean, she dreamed of being eaten by a dragon. That's what she dreamed of. Let's see. The only cure for grayscale that seems to be mentioned as being effective is boiling water. Having boiling water poured over the head would kill a normal person. The damage to her scalp may also be George's way of hiding her true hair color. What am I reading here? Hold on a second. Woon kneeled to her and called her queen. So, okay, so this is a Shireen is important and not just going to be burned theory. You're saying that her distant Targaryen blood will come out when she's in the pyre. I can't rule it out. I wouldn't count on that, but I'm not upset. The Shireen burning supposedly came from George. That's the thing. It's like Dave and Dan said, they quickly deflected blame they're like, oh, that was one of the things he told us that freaked us out. So I think you're sledding uphill if you're trying to make a theory that she's not going to get burned or that she's going to survive. I mean, I think that's probably what's going to happen. But I don't want to kill any little girls, so I hope she doesn't die, She's a sweet little girl. Thanks, Kim. Appreciate that, Kimberly, with the PayPal. But, yeah. Kind of like Sweet Robin. Like, I don't want him to die, but don't really think he's going to be around that long. Okay, so, yeah, eaten by a dragon. Yeah, see, that's... Shireen dreamed of being eaten by a dragon, but that could also foreshadow her being burned in a pyre, obviously. Especially to wake a dragon like Jon when the red comet's overhead. Because it's the red comet that was giving her bad dreams. So. Yeah, I don't know. Jacob, which question was it? Which one was yours? Did you send one in, or was it? Did you ask it in the chat? If you want to repeat it, I'll try to answer it. But yeah, I don't know if people are going to get back up to the Eyrie. It's kind of frozen, and it's only going to get colder. So to get back to the Eyrie at this point, you'd need a dragon, pretty much. And I don't know why you'd need to go there. So we're probably all done with scenes at the Eyrie. Maybe he'll fly somewhere else. He definitely deserves to. He's been throwing people out that door for a while. Let's see here. Yeah, Jacob, if you want to repeat your question, man, I'll try to get it. The Squisher King. Cool, thank you. So you're on endgame. Do you think he could potentially plan to attack Starfall? Perhaps to get his hands on Dawn as a conduit for the others? I don't think so, because I think my theory about Dawn being stolen by Darkstar is pretty solid. Like, it's partly based on trying to figure out why Darkstar is in the book. Because remember, originally, Edric Dane, post 5-year gap, was going to be the new Sword of the Morning. And then once he scrapped the 5-year gap, all of a sudden there's a new Dane who's older. And he's not cut out to be named Sword of the Morning, but he definitely covets the sword and has a grudge against Arthur Dane. And he's like, oh, it's just his sword that made him great. So Darkstar stealing Dawn as a mechanism to get it out into the world, I think, is really solid. And his plot line is going to tangle up with King's Landing, the Sand Snakes, Arianne, Fagon, all that stuff. And so I don't think Starfall and Euron are going to collide. Euron's got the horns. You know what I mean? I don't think Euron is looking for Dawn. He probably will have one of the Valyrian steel swords that the Ironborn possess if he hasn't found one, like Bright Roar or something. I definitely think he could have Bright Roar. So, yeah, I don't think Euron and Dawn are going to interact. I think Dawn is going to essentially come to King's Landing. I think it's going to end up in Dany's hands. She's going to give it to Jon, and that's when Jon's going to give Longclaw to Jorah. I've got that all worked out in my head, so don't mess with my house of cards, man. No, I'm kidding. But as far as Euron's stuff, like I've always said, I think Euron is going to declare himself king at Old Town. I think he's going to call the dragon to the high tower, that kind of thing. So it's going to get pretty dark. The finger bones, real quick. The finger bones. It's so weird, that quote about Melisandre saying, "Oh yes, you can make a glamour from all kinds of things. The bones, remember, bag of finger bones would make a great glamour. Should one have sights?" And not saying I do, but Davos, of course, lost his finger bones on the Battle of the Blackwater. So I've been very obtusely thinking, how would Melisandre have recovered Davos's finger bones from, on Dragonstone? Did they wash out Blackwater Bay all the way to Dragonstone, and then she walked down on the beach with her witch powers and just picked them up? No. She swapped them. This has got to be what happened. She swapped them before the battle. That's why Davos didn't have any luck in the battle. I mean, I guess he lived, but everything else went bad. And he lost the thing. If it had been his real finger bones, I don't think he ever would have lost them. But because they were fake, he didn't have his luck, and he did lose them. So I think Mel does have them. I don't think she fished him out of the river. I think she swapped them. When he was a prisoner. Yeah, that could have been when. So that means there probably will be a Davos glamour somewhere up, when Shireen is burned and Jon's resurrected, just as the real Davos was there when Mel gives birth to the Shadow Baby. Fake Davos will be there when Mel gives birth, or midwives, if you will, the rebirth of Jon Snow. Super chat from someone with the Russian name in Cyrillic alphabet. I'm not going to try to pronounce that, but thank you. I'm sure you know who you are. Or that I know who you are. I obviously know who you are, but yeah. Anyway, thanks, guys. Let's see here. Yeah, that she didn't say bag of finger bones for nothing. Right. That seems obvious. It's just a matter of how would she get them? But yeah, that must be the answer. What do you think came first, the First Men or the Great Empire of the Dawn? Well, First Men includes the Great Empire of the Dawn because the First Men is a catch-all term that the Andals came up with when they showed up at least a couple of millennia after the Long Night events. I'm not one of those people that thinks the Andals were there during the Long Night. Those people are missing all the Great Empire of the Dawn clues, and they're trying to use the Andals to explain the weird building structures and all the stuff that the Great Empire of the Dawn did, essentially. So I'm very against those theories. The Andals showed up after the fact, and they just said, all these unwashed heathens, these are the First Men. They're the primitive savages who were there, and we're the next people. But, of course, all the First Men is everyone from Starks to Lannisters to ancient Dornish to the Durrandon. I mean, these are a wide variety of different looks and beliefs and stuff. So, yeah, and the Ironborn are included in the First Men, even though they're like, don't call us First Men. Don't group us with those other unwashed heathens. We're salt-washed heathens. So, yeah, First Men is... It's like saying Native Americans. It's like all the people who are from here before we got here. Well, that's hundreds and hundreds of tribes, that some of which are closely related, some of which not. And of course, there is a shared lineage behind all Native Americans, but you have to go back 14, 15, 18,000 years crossing the Bering Land Bridge to say that they're all one people. Other than that, there's a lot of obviously separation and development that has happened. So yeah, to the Europeans, they were all the natives, but of course they had their own, tribal names and practices and stuff. So similar thing. Among the first men would have been little leftovers of the Great Empire of the Dawn. House Dane, House Hightower, the Ironborn, possibly House Lannister, possibly the Starks. Then we have the whole question of where did Garth the Green come? Garth the Green, BGC veteran, I think so. Let me see. My email's a couple minutes behind, but I think I got all the PayPals. Yeah, if yours was the one with the Russian name, then yeah, I got it. Let's see here. What was I saying? So yeah, First Men includes little remnants of the Great Empire of the Dawn. So when did the Great Empire of the Dawn get here? I kind of do think they might. Saltwashed Heathens is a good band name. You're welcome. They might have been here first. The thing is that the Great Empire of the Dawn came to Westeros to learn the magic of the children. So it's an open question as to whether the first men got there before, the Great Empire of the Dawn visited Whispering Sound. It's hard to say. And so it's probably not important. I would say that they were both there before the Long Night. That's the important thing. You had your first men that we all think of as the first men who did walk across the land bridge, and who all may be descended from green men in part, because they all claim descent from Garth the Green, who's a green man. But you also have that contingent. Because you remember, the Hightower legends about Whispering Sound are that there were ancient mariners from afar, maybe Valyria or the Summer Islands or who knows where, that came here and built that high tower and became the first high tower. So the Maesters of Old Town believe that the high towers are not first men and that they are from somewhere else. They just don't know where. That is in the World of Ice and Fire. So I guess you would say that maybe they were there first, but they were only having a little presence, whereas the first men migrated there in force. So do I think the Children of the Forest are the real villains? No, I definitely don't. They represent nature, and nature has teeth. That's all. They have their own motivations. They don't care about the pride of man's kingdoms. They don't care about that. They care about, the earth and the planet, which is, by the way, a clue that they did not do the Hammer of the Waters to stop the first men, as the legend says. That's an obviously wrong legend. Even the Maesters say it doesn't make sense. They basically say it's like closing the barn door after the horses have gotten out. First men had already crossed the arm of Dorne for hundreds of years. Why would they break it? It doesn't even make sense. And why would they break the earth? That's not what elves do, so. Sith happens. Essos is huge, but White Walkers seem to be Westerosi. Well, the Lion of Night did have demons that ravaged the East during the Long Night, and we don't know what those demons were. They could have been others or a similar phenomenon. The rest of the question. Long periods of darkness aren't good for anyone, but what was so terrifying in Essos that all these legends of Azor Ahai have survived? Well, just that. It said that the demons of the Lion of Night ravaged the earth during the Bloodstone Emperor's reign of terror. So really, the Bloodstone Emperor is the answer. He is a dark sorcerer of some kind. He obviously used these black meteorites to gain power. During the Long Night, he broke the moon and turned the sun off and was like, sweet, now I'm the man. That's him. Bloodstone Emperor. The name Bloodstone, obviously it's a stone. I've got a Bloodstone, the middle one here. This Bloodstone. That one's got a nice little blood splotch on it. But of course, meteors and comets are bleeding stars. So a bloody stone is just a mythical description for a meteorite. And Bloodstone Emperor worshipped a meteorite. So he's literally named after his toy. It's very important to him. So that was his deal. So yeah, Azor Ahai is remembered because for a couple of reasons. Flaming swords were apparently part of the Great Empire of the Dawn technology. Dany's vision of the gemstone-eyed emperors, they all have pale swords of fire, which implies perhaps that Dawn comes from the Great Empire of the Dawn and lights up with pale fire. So the Valyrians Valyrian steel is probably a fallen form of the original Great Empire of the Dawn steel, which is the good steel, the white, pure white steel. Oh yes, pure. It's gold. It's rainbow light, like milk glass. Anyway, so the flaming swords are part of Great Empire of the Dawn legend. Azor Ahai, flaming sword warrior. It's probably a combination of the legends of their old heroes with whatever ended the Long Night. But since the Long Night was global, it's a legend that is remembered everywhere. Martina Harkness, welcome to Squisher. Kirsty Angel, have you heard of the Conference of the Birds or the Speech of the Birds? There's 30 types of birds in the poem as well, as in A Song of Ice and Fire. No, I haven't. That sounds really cool, though. I'm dying to know how Bran the Builder learned the speech of the children and what that even means. I think that just means, green seer magic, but Cold Hands does speak the old tongue, so. Let's see what this PayPal is about here. From Piotr. We know that Lightbringer can mean many things. A meteor, a sword, a person, a penis. The same is true. Sperm, actually. It's more about the impregnating sperm. But the swimmers. The same is true for Nissa and Azor Ahai. Right. Okay, so here's one of the possible interpretations of the legend of the Lightbringer forging. Oh, the 3 forgings, right, because I was saying how that had me stumped last live stream, right? So the tempering in water could be the first meteor that strikes the narrow sea, the arm of Dorne. Tempering in the lion's heart could be the one that strikes the heart of the lion of night, i.e. the heart of winter. I was thinking maybe the heart of shadow and a shy. I have thought that exact thing, lion of night, a shy, Stygian. So maybe these are all landing spots. And then number 3, tempering in Nissa's heart, the one that strikes the god's eye. Right, that would be the Westeros one, exactly. Westeros can be personalized as a woman, as Nissa. Example, in Dany's dream, when she sees a woman being ravaged by dwarves, and then she's wakes up and she's being ravaged by the Undying. Yes, absolutely. That's another clue that Dany is, by the way, a mother goddess and represents the land of Westeros itself and will care for the people when she gets there. But I digress. Super chat. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me keep on. So yeah, I definitely think that one thing about the 3 forgings could be the landing places, because it kind of does fit. Like Ashai, the Arm of Dorne, and the God's Eye are potentially the 3 landing spots. Yeah, so I think I'm done with this jacket. It is not sitting straight, and it's bugging the shit out of me. There we go. It's real. When I'm walking around, it was fine, but for some reason, it's doing this cockeyed thing. And okay, so it's okay, Dave. It's all right. It'll be fine. What's up, Ion Throne? Yeah, that's Urtach's Winds of Winter there. We don't know if that's official or not. He hasn't said. He's playing coy. That Urtach. Okay, so Super Chat. Let's get this one. What do you think about the connections between the children and the Harangan? That's from one of George's previous works of science fiction. The psychic creatures from the Thousand Worlds series, right. The weirwoods are similar to the trees from 7 Times Never Kill a Man. I have read that, but it was a long time ago. I should reread it. And here's another way I can shout out Preston Jacobs. He does great coverage of the Thousand Worlds series. Really good coverage. So he's explored some of that stuff. And in the Time Traveling Brand series, I think he was referring to 7 Times Never Kill a Man as well. But I'm not sure. So it's a hive mind. A couple of the characters in the story have to join the hive mind. But it's a little creepy. It's a little like, ooh, is that what we wanted to do? But we get those vibes in the Weirwood Cave, don't we? I mean, there's bones everywhere. Bran, we're not sure how much of Bran's humanity he's giving up. Obviously, a normal life he's giving up, but is he going to have to become a tree corpse like Bloodraven? Is he going to have the whole weirwood net take over his mind? So, yeah. Joining the hive mind, not all it's cracked up to be. Again, this is George pulling the tropes down into the mud. So what would it be like to be part of a hive mind and have your individual personality start to dissolve? It's kind of an incomprehensible thing, unless you've taken a lot of mushrooms one time. Anyways, but yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you think about it and you're like, I don't know if I'd want to do that, because we're individuals. We have a sense of self. So to let your sense of self dissolve and join a collective, I wouldn't want to do that. Right? Think about the Borg, right? Star Trek nails the most creepy version of it, which is the Borg. You will assimilate. But there's a little bit of that with the weirwood thing. It's kind of like a mixed bag, you know? So, and that's why I think George got a lot of this from Odin and Norse mythology. Odin is always paying a big price for magic. George seems to have implemented that principle. So, like this comment if you have a crush on LML. People can't like the comments in the chat. You got to come up with a different test. We'll assume that everyone has a crush on me. I want it. I want you to have a crush on me. That's part of the draw, you know. If only we could all be in a hive mind together. Just okay, let's stop there. I was about to. It is late night, I guess. It is late night. All right, let me rip this real quick, and I'll give you some music. This was the joke. Yeah, thanks, Brandon. Thanks. Let me give you some. I'll give you Reading Rhaegar. It'll just be a quick one. We didn't do Reading Rhaegar yesterday. And we're back. Wow. I just got a bong hit. It gave me this giant head rush. And then I came back to my screen, and it was just a black screen, and I thought the stream had disconnected. And then I remembered that I had played the Reading Rhaegar video, and that after it's done, you get a black screen. So that was a trip. All right. It's 2 in the morning, and there's a PayPal. This is fun. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming. Thanks for bearing with me. Ooh, that was a good one. Got a hammer of the waters who just hit me. Lachlan Grigg. And we are going to come back to the hammer. Oh, the Sense8. Yeah, Sense8. Thank you. I watched Sense8. That's totally hive mind orgy. That's just what I'm talking about. Wouldn't it be great if all of us were... Yeah. Anyway. Hey, man. Sorry the exchange rates. Oh, no worries, Lachlan. Praise Garth. I'm starting to think Jon will need to be dead in Ghost for most, if not all, of wins. I'd say at least like half. It's probably going to be a hot second. Yeah. The Long Night will probably fall late in wins, so if Jon's leading the invasion, which happens after the moon meteors break the wall, realistically, he might be regaining his body at the very end of wins. Or the beginning of Dream. Do you think it'll be the connection to Bran that keeps him whole within Ghost? And is maybe when he learns his parentage, the real Azor Ahai and Sansa story? So these are good questions. These are good questions. So let's see here. So Jackie C, just to clarify, my desire for everyone to have a crush on me is just my playful way of saying that I want y'all to like me, and want to come back. Also, I saw an ADD meme that hit me it hit me somewhere. And it was kind of like, it said something about, early in life. Oh no, I know you're joking. It's cool. I'm not. It's Jackie. We're cool. It's totally cool. So ADD people, early in life, we perform in order to like not be embarrassed and to like distract attention from things. And then essentially you you turn into an adult and it just becomes a whole thing. And so I've essentially monetized, I don't know. I forgot the way it went, but in any case, yeah. I do crave validation. This YouTube channel feeds me. It does make me feel good about myself. And the best of all, of course, in all seriousness, are the comments that are like, I'm, learning about mythology, or I'm seeing so much more in the story, rereading the books, and it's all different to me now. And that kind of stuff makes me feel just like $1 million. So enough about me, though, because, let's talk about A Song of Ice and Fire. Joe McKeown, who just found my Garth the Green page. No, it was Joe Thompson that just found my Garth the Green. Follow at Garth the Green on Instagram. Catching the stream later. Just want to show some love. Thanks, buddy. Yep. We got to get that Mythic Concepts channel kickstarted again. I put out a video on Mythic Concepts. It didn't do nothing. Did not take off like the other ones. So I gotta wake it up. It was asleep for like 7 months, and I gotta wake it up again. Hive Mind Orgy, another band name. Salt Washed Heathens is better though. Will Dany power her? Hey, Kelly Johnson. Will Dany power her magic with 3 dragon bond? Are you asking if Dany's going to bond all the dragons? I would say no. She's not supposed to be able to, and I don't think she needs to. Masking, yeah, it's definitely a form of masking. That's kind of what I was talking about. R.L. Pliskin, thank you. Kelly, why don't you clarify your question? I feel like I missed it. Yeah, just put it in the chat and at me. If you're asking if Dany's going to control more than one dragon, no. That's just a sloppy thing the show did out of convenience. They had the other 2 follow along. We've already seen that the other 2 dragons are flying around the Battle of Meereen and causing chaos and just doing whatever they want. So they might, if Dany and Drogon show up and start doing something with a purpose, would the other 2 dragons sort of follow along? Maybe. Dany was able to sort of herd them when they were younger. But as far as bonding with, she's bonded with Drogon, as far as I can tell. Brandon Rooney, thanks for the super chat. Thank you, buddy. Oh, that's cool. It tells me when it's somebody's first super chat. Oh, that's cool. Breaking the super cherry, if you will. That's crude. We don't need to do that. We don't need to make that a thing. So going back to the question. Yes, so Jon could be in Ghost for a while. I do think that is true. I think the others will steal his body at the wall, and then it'll disappear. Like they'll literally steal his body, and then like they'll bring him north of the wall maybe to burn him or something, or the others will steal him out of the ice cells, something like that. But I feel like his body will disappear, and we won't see it for a while. And during that time, we will get 1 or 2 POVs from Ghost Jon that'll be kind of Wolf Dreamish. I do think he'll meet Lyanna in the crypts. So that does have to happen, seems like. I do think that Bran will be key in bringing him back. It's going to take Bran and Melisandre, I believe, to get Jon back in his body. And honestly, yeah, he might not be back in his body for quite a while. That's true. It could be at least several weeks, and you could still get some of Jon back. It'll be merged with Ghost. And that's kind of, think about it. If the foreshadowing is that Ghost the wolf body is going to have to be sacrificed to resurrect Jon. And we'll read the Drogo scene where they sacrifice Drogo's horse to try to resurrect Drogo, because that's foreshadowing for Jon sometime soon. But, yeah, the whole point of that is that, like, if Jon's in Ghost for more than a few days, he's going to start to merge with his wolf. And so it makes sense that you'd have to kill the wolf, because once the spirits are merged, you can't put Jon back in his body without bringing Ghost's spirit too. So you have to choose which body the joint spirit's going to live in. And we need to get it back in Jon's body. So just as Drogo's horse was slain, and Mirri Maz said, "Spirit of the horse, go into the rider," we want the spirit that's in the wolf to go into the rider, into the man. So I don't think it's going to be a switcheroo. No, they're going to be... I'm telling you, that's what George told us in the Varamir prologue. If Jon is in there for more than a few days, he will not be able to be separated from Ghost. A wolf's head in the arrowhead. Oh, it does kind of look like that. Yep, I see it. I was looking at it like, is there another shape in there? I'll have to ask Urtach if that is intended to be a wolf's head. I think it is, yeah. It looks like it. Let me zoom it in for you real quick. What do you think? Sorry, let me get it. There we go. That does look like a wolf's head, doesn't it? Man, that's subtle. Urtach, you bastard. Kenny, you bastard. Nice job. That's nuts. That's nuts. I guess you would want to put put them both in there, right? Got the Targ sigil, got the wolf in there. Very friggin' cool, man. Nice job, buddy. Okay. So yeah, this is Brian, you're joining late. That's Urtach Altanaz's art. So that's not fan art. Urtach did the cover of Rise of the Dragon. So he is one of the most official Ice and Fire artists out there. We don't know if this is the official Winds cover, but I suspect that it's going to be the official Winds cover. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. So, yeah. Yeah. Okay, where were we? Oh yeah, we're talking about Jon. So, it all comes together. If Jon is not pulled out of Ghost within a few days, they'll be merged. And then you will be forced to choose. And that's what's going to happen. We're going to have to choose. And it's going to be Jon's body, because we need Jon to be Azor Ahai and shit. So yeah, I think Jon will be in his wolf. It wouldn't surprise me, guys, if Melisandre realizes that Jon's in his wolf. She kind of has to by the end. Because how does Ghost get on the pyre? Think about it. Melisandre is able to call Ghost to her. And it's even stronger than Jon's warg power. That's the importance of that scene. You remember that mysterious scene beneath the wall? Sorry, I'm trying to get on my stool straighter here. She calls Ghost to him, and she says, "Warmth calls to warmth, Jon Snow." And then Jon sees that both of their eyes are burning like hot coals. So it's like, is Melisandre going to call Ghost to her in a fire of hot coals? Like, yes, that's how it's going to happen. Why would Melisandre call Ghost to the fire? Because she's going to realize that Jon's in there. She's going to be not doing this randomly. She's going to be intending to burn Ghost, to pull his shadow out, and to put the shadow into the corpse. I'm more like curious about how they're going to subdue the ice corpse to get the spirit back in, but maybe there's a way you free it from enchantment and then it's just a dead body. So we'll have to see. We don't know how Cold Hands was made. So yeah, my Melisandre voice it's lusty and cute, isn't it? It's good. Yeah. No, it's not a matter of Mel leaving Ghost alone. It's a matter of Mel saving Jon. He needs to get out of. He's not ready to go into retirement yet. Is her magic stronger, or Jon's just inexperienced? A little bit of both, Kelly, but more that Melisandre's magic is stronger. And Melisandre, if she's Bloodraven's daughter, she could be part Blackwood. And she could have warg abilities that she doesn't even understand. Just as Dany is part Blackwood, as much as half, actually, due to incest. Yeah. Dany's ability to wake the dragons when no one else could in 100 years or more could be because she is part Blackwood and has that green seer magic. Because the original Dragon Bond, to go back to the Great Empire of the Dawn, the original Dragon Bond probably came about when the Great Empire of the Dawn came to Westeros and messed with skin changer magic and their lizard breeding genetic program, and they put them together. And by the way, the Children of the Forest are lizard people. Let's talk about that. You think I'm kidding? I'm fucking not. No, I do not think Melisandre is Alice Rivers, although I'm not certain of it. I just don't think they all need to be the same person. I do think Alice Rivers is cool, and the rest of her story might be really interesting. I mean, it could be. It almost just seems like too obvious. I feel like she hasn't been to Westeros in a while or ever. So I'm going to show you two pictures of Nissa that were both drawn by fans of this program, as you will be able to tell. This one is by Rodora Jacob. And as you can see, she has wed the idea of Nissa being both Child of the Forest and some sort of proto-Valyrian with silver hair and a connection to dragons. And it kind of makes sense. It doesn't look crazy, does it? That's because this is a thing. The Children of the Forest are goddamn lizard people. As I pick up my nimble dick machete to tell you about how the Children of the Forest are goddamn lizard people. Now, first of all, they got 4 fingers, not 5, 4. 4 fingers, and they got claws. Black claws. 4-finger black claw. What do you think that is? That's a lizard foot, not a human hand. That's a lizard foot. Okay, I better move this picture and this so I can see the chat react to my nimble dick impression. All right, so now you got a 4-finger clawed hand. That's a lizard hand. Then their eyes, they're slitted like a cat's or like a goddamn lizard, because lizards also have slitted eyes. Look at a snake. It's got a slitted eye. So we got clawed hands. We got lizard eyes. And there's 6 Children of the Forest in that creepy cave full of bones that Bran's in. And he gives them all nicknames, right? One of their nicknames. We got Snowy Locks. There's Coals. There's Leaf. One of them's called Scales. Now, why are they called Scales? Why would you name, if they're being named after their physical features like Snowy Locks, white hair like Valyrians, by the way? Why would one be called Scales unless they got some scaly skin? So not only is it dappled like a doe, that's good PR. Oh yeah, they're like does and little rabbits and shit, like cats. No, they're like snakes, like iguanas. That's what they are. They're lizard people living in a cave in the dark, like lizard people under the earth, with their 4 clawed hands. Okay? No, I was clearing out my throat. It's fine. You don't be concerned about Nimble Dick, Mariah. Nimble Dick be concerned about you. And so, I conclude my presentation and shout out to James of Thrones and his mother LaDonna. This is their theory. I'm ripping it off like a used car salesman ripping off a sucker on a used car lot. Nimble Dick's worked a few used car lots in his life. All right, now, so listen. That doe skin stuff is PR. That's spin. There's Bran's telling you the truth. He's like, they got claws, they got scales, they got white hair. These are reptilians. The Children of the Forest, Children of the Forest, children of Godzilla. That's what we're talking about. Children of Nyarlathotep, Cthulhu. All right, that's getting clipped out. There's your short for next week. It's too bad I didn't have my Nimble Dick hat. I'll put that in post-production. All right, it's not the hat that makes the dick. It's the dick that makes the hat. All right, now, listen. Oh, boy. All right, let me take this rip. Hang on. Oh, I was on mute the whole time now. That'd be epic. I tell you what, if I did a 10-minute nimble dick performance on mute, I would have to eat my goddamn hat. Sorry, I should mute this. Ah, you didn't hear my accent change. Well, I was looking for my nimble dick hat and didn't find it, so cheerio, chip chip, we've got a new hat. All right. Somebody's texting me to tell me that I'm muted. Probably. Thanks, guys. I'm back. That's okay. I don't really have an English accent, so it's fine that that was muted because it wasn't even English. It was just like uppity. It was just like my strange upper class accent that I had. I don't even know what it is. So, getting back to the lizard people. Guys, Nimble Dick is right. Okay. Nimble Dick is right. The Children of the Forest might be lizard people. And in all seriousness, James of Thrones is the YouTube channel to check out. I'm not muted now. I'm good. Okay, yeah, so. Wouldn't it be funny if I was muted, he says, and then comes, yeah, well, whatever. So. Oh, I know where my Nimble Dick hat is. Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Got this bitch in the house. All right. Now that's better. Oh, man. Oh, man. I'll tell you. No, actually, you know what? I'm not going to wear that. It looks better with the rest of the outfit. You're right. My hair is looking good. Let's go with the hair. It's more attractive. Okay, so the serious theory here, guys, is that the Children of the Forest, in all honesty, seem to be a jumble of all kinds of animals. They are not regular elves. They are very strange. They are animal people. And it is the whole point of the Great Empire of the Dawn coming to Westeros before the long night really is that the dragon bond is a result of green seer magic. Somehow the ability to send your spirits into animals was modified to be able to be used on dragons, creatures of fire. Now, I don't think that a regular green seer could just hop into a dragon because a dragon is fire made flesh. And the Valyrians, we've seen the Valyrians have an affinity to fire. Thank you, Brandon. I'll go back and find it in just a second. Appreciate the reminder. The Valyrians have an affinity for fire. Dany's ability to survive the pyre, it is a miracle, but it's also not a random miracle. It's a miracle pulled out by a Valyrian who have the blood of the dragon in their veins. So we know there's been weird genetic experiments. We know that the Valyrians have lizard babies. They are part reptile. There is a kinship there. I've check out my video, Damon's Song Decoded, where I said that the three heads of the dragon is referring to how we make a dragon bond. It involves stuffing a Valyrian ancestor spirit into the dragon. This is lemur theory. If you know what the Valyrian lemurs are about, that's lemur means ghost. Lemurs, they're animals. They're called Valyrians. It's like, oh, are the Valyrians ghosts inside of animals? Yes, they are, but they're not in lemurs. They're in dragons. So how did the Valyrians send their spirits into dragons? Maybe it has nothing to do with green seer and skin changer magic, but again, George is suggesting to us that the Great Empire of the Dawn, the ancestors of the Valyrians, that they came to Westeros, they built infused stone. So at some point while they were in Westeros, they had the dragon bond, they made fused stone, they were controlling dragons and stuff. And George is telling us, why did they come here? Maybe it was to learn the magic of the Children of the Forest. Hey, I don't know, just throwing things at the wall. So there you go. I do think it will turn out that the dragon bond, the dragon magic, is a modified version of skin changing. And that the blood of the dragon, like, the Children of the Forest could know what's up with that, how we did that. Like, this could be some pretty freaky shit that's at the result of this, or at the heart of this. So, yeah, I'll leave it there for now, but 3-hour mute compilation of all prior videos set to the sound of silence on repeat. Anu Aurora, that is, you're banned. No, I'm kidding. There would be, set to the sound of silence. Terrible. Thanks. Danny should kill Euron one-on-one combat with fire magic. Kelly Johnson, I think it'll be Jon, but not necessarily, the whole Aemond One-Eye Daemon dragon fight. I don't want to talk about it in too much detail in case there's House of the Dragon spoiler people around, but that does seem to be a foreshadowing of how Euron's going to die. It could be Danny instead of Jon, but I would see Jon in the Daemon role there. Maybe not. Let's go back for the one. Okay. There's one that I missed. I don't know if it was the one that I missed, but do you think the white ghost wolf figure on the Winds of Winter book art cover possibly a parallel to Jon's pyre being very similar to Drogo's with the smoked stallion? White ghost. I didn't... Right, okay, I guess, yeah. I mean, I don't know. If you're putting the wolf in the dragon glass, you kind of have to use the light refraction. So I'm not sure if it was intended to be a white wolf. Urtach does love to draw theories, but he doesn't have special knowledge from George. So I don't know. I think it's probably just a wolf head in the dragon glass. I mean, it would be Ghost if you were drawing a wolf in the dragon glass, I guess. But to answer the heart of your question, yes. Drogo's stallion is burned on the pyre with Drogo, just like Ghost will be burned on the pyre with Jon. Now, I think that's totally a parallel. And then you see the smoke stallion that Drogo rides. Well, that'll be, that's just sort of showing you that, like, both the spirit of the horse and the rider are ascending to heaven. That's the point, because this is a whole ascension thing, right? Drogo's becoming the comet, and he's going to ride the comet. But he's riding the smoky stallion into the sky. So it's kind of like the horse, and I'm just figuring this out as I'm talking, actually, so thank you. It's like the horse and the man have been resurrected together and are riding into the stars together. So that just shows you Jon and Ghost are going to resurrect together as one spirit entity while the red comet is up in the sky. So nice. A1 Aaron. Nice job. A1. Good job. A+ on that. I think there's one more super chat that I might have missed. Let's go back. Got that one. If you had a dragon in real life, this is it. What would you name it, and what color would it be? Oh gosh, I meant to attach this to my last one, but I forgot. I've named a lot of dragons for my patrons, which, by the way, I'm behind on. What would I name it? Well, I have Cleo, so Cleo's not really a name that you can turn into a dragon name. Gooseries works fine. If somebody can figure out a dragon name for Cleo, that's the one that I own. I can't own. Cleo's maxed out my capacity for fiery pets. I can't. I can't take any more. Let me go back up here. No question, just want to say great hair. Thank you, Thania. Thank you. Appreciate that. Let's see here. I feel Aegon II is deeply complex and underrated. So, Aegon II is an interesting character. and House of the Dragon we're talking, obviously. And yeah, I think they've done a good job of setting this up to where, you know, we talked about this a bit. The moment that they had when he holds the sword up and all of a sudden starts feeling the crowd was really well written, because he goes from somebody who doesn't want the job and is like, he has self-esteem issues. And so he's saying, oh, I can't, I'm not worthy. Cleoris. Yeah, that's pretty good. Cleogar. Cleogar. That's good too. Cleogon. I think I like Cleoris. Yeah, I Cleoraxes and stuff I've heard before. It's too chewy. Let's see. What was the question? What were we talking about? Oh shoot. Distracted myself. Damn it. Aegon II. Yeah, so that was a really awesome moment. This is a very human moment. It's like, oh, I don't want the job. I don't want the job. Oh, there's a cheering crowd. Well, that's kind of cool. Is this a sword? What happens if I go like this? Like, yeah. And I really loved how you see Otto and Alicent looking at him like, oh, he's doing it. Oh gosh, he's doing it. Are we going to be able to control him? So now all of a sudden you could see them rethinking the wisdom of pushing somebody who's woefully unprepared to be a king into the role of being king. It's like, oh gosh, well, what if he doesn't do a good job? Like, he's not going to do a good job. You didn't raise him well, and now you just stuck a crown on his head. How do you think that's going to go? So yeah, he is an interesting character and is well realized so far in the show. They've got a good actor. And so, yeah, I think they're going to develop that character a bit. And then if you know the rest of Fire and Blood, he goes through a couple of ups and downs, you know, and he's around for a while. So, yeah, it's. I think by the time we're done with that ride, it's going to be pretty one of the more compelling characters in the story. He was on some Freddie Mercury shit. Up on that stage. Yep. Let me go check on my PayPals. I feel like there might be. Yes, more money. I'm very poor. So it means a lot right now. Yes, the House of the Dragon money was flush last year. I won't say that I put it all away. I might have spent it on a few things, but yeah, we're back to the grindstone here. We're on the comeback swing. Let's see. Lucy Jane, fundraising for Nimble Dick. Oh, a Nimble Dick emoji. You've just bought it. I'll make it. There should be a Nimble Dick emoji. Goddamn right there should be. All right now. Okay, no more Nimble Dick. Yes, Jackie C. I spent money on bongs. What made you? How did you guess? It was more than bongs. I bought clothes. I bought bongs. I maintained a long-distance relationship. All of those things cost money. And I don't regret any of them. I just need to make more money now. That's all. I don't ever feel bad about spending money. I feel bad about not making enough money so that I could spend it without hesitation. That's my mindset. But in any case, I appreciate it. Yeah, I just sold my most expensive bong, actually, to just finish the story. But that's the whole thing. Like, I'm from, background of music gear. And you buy music gear when you have money. And then when you're tight on money, it's just like a stock. You can liquidate it. It holds its value. And you get out of something. You've enjoyed it for a while. You get back most of what you paid for it, or even more than what you paid for it if it's gone up in value. And then when you have a little more money, you buy something different. And that way you get to play a lot of different guitars. So yeah, my most expensive bong, I bought it like 8 or 9 months ago. I just let go of it. And yeah, it held its value. I got everything back that I paid for it. And I still have plenty of nice bongs to smoke out of. So it's fine. It's fine. I don't miss it. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. It went to a good home. It's being used. It's okay. It's fine. No, I'm serious. It's all right. No, I don't name them. I haven't named bongs or guitars. Although I did name my bass Yggdrasil at a certain point because it's made of ash. So, kind of had to do that. I use argan oil-based hair products in case anyone is curious, because you just put a little bit in there and it gives you the shine, but it's, as you can see, it's like you can run your hands through it. It doesn't feel greasy. It's not sticky. I hate that. Guys, you want women to run your hands through your hair, so why would you turn your hair into a sticky helmet? Or girls, I'm sorry, there's no reason to bring gender into it. Point is, it feels nice when people put their hands through your hair, so why would you? Yeah, I use argan oil-based products. There you go. There's your hair tip for the day. The bong has a name, Moon Dancer. You're naming my bongs. I got a lot of bongs, so you're going to be busy. Let's talk about Ice and Fire. Let's see. I'm going to give you 15 seconds to send me a question, or else I'm going to start talking about the hammer. Actually, I'm going to take this rip. If there's not a new question by the time I'm done with this, we're going to talk about Hammer of the Waters for like 20 minutes. I'm not kidding, so it's up to y'all. Lungs are weak today. Seaweed extract? What? What the hell? Why would you put seaweed extract in your hair? Unless you were a goddamn squisher. That's suspicious. Ban that person from the chat. Who is that? Ban that person. Who asked about seaweed in there? That's a squisher. Oh, it's BGC Vet and he gave me money. Oh, now I'm conflicted. Okay, don't ban him, but you're warned, sir. You're warned, sir. Keep your squisher hair care tips to yourself. Okay? Ooh, sorry. Let me, Yes, I've gotten higher on stream, but not much. I mean, it is 2:30 in the morning, so... No, we want the hammer. The people want the hammer talk. What non-POV character would you like to see as a POV character? So, I'm going to get political on you. I think a lot of the... Okay, so look. George is pretty woke for an old guy. Using woke in the classic sense of the word. Not the pejorative sense, but for an old white guy, George is pretty aware. He's an old deadhead. He's a hippie. So his mentality is one of, he's definitely a leftist. The point is that the Democratic Party is awesome leftist, but like a 60s hippie kind of leftist. However, George has his blind spots. He is an old white guy. Okay, there's a few criticisms of George, and there's a few things that George has talked about changing and growing as, he wrote the first book in the 90s, okay, the mid 90s. So he himself has said, I've come a long way. So like the Dothraki, the way the Dothraki are portrayed, it's very tropey. It's a little two-dimensional. They're a little bit, magic Mongols, okay? There's some criticisms to be made, like the way they just made in the open, like animals and stuff. Like there's some of it that's a little uncomfortable. One of the criticisms that I think is valid, to get to my point, sorry. I think we should have a Marinese POV. Like we've got Dany and we've got all these Westerosi characters in Meereen, but we've got no POVs from anybody from Slaver's Bay. And I think that would really add a dynamic to the story if we got a POV of even Melisandre, or maybe one of Grey Worm's people, or one of the politicians that she's dealing with. It could have been a character that George created or wrote differently, knowing it would have been a POV. One of Barristan's recruits that he's training, like the Red Lamb or something. Yeah, shave pate if you really want to get nuts. Some sort of native Marinese perspective would have been good. I could have also used a couple more lowborn POVs, like Davos is lowborn, he becomes a lord. You know, we get Dunk, who's he's very lowborn, but almost everyone else is a lord. And even though George is constantly criticizing the lords and their use of power, I could have used maybe a couple more, common POVs. So that's what I would say as far as the POV that we didn't get. Robert Gould, you give me hours of entertainment. Keep it up. Can't wait for a video. Oh, dude, when Winds comes out, forget about it. Clear my schedule. Hold all my calls. So the Hammer of the Waters. I've been talking, so this goes back to the Nissa Nissa stuff. Oh, and I didn't even get to my second Nissa Nissa. Atlantis Morissette is dying wherever she is watching the stream. Atlantis Morissette's Nissa Nissa. Let me make it a little bigger here. This is Nissa Nissa, Our Lady of Sorrows by Atlantis Morissette. And you can see here, she has the four-fingered, black-clawed hands of the Children of the Forest. She has the white hair of a Valyrian. So, just like the other artist, we're splitting the difference between Child of the Forest and Valyrian. And then we've got the moon breaking in the background. We've got the weirwoods. So, very cool. And this is the point. Like, the Great Empire of the Dawn, to some extent, was probably hybridizing with green men and Children of the Forest and stuff, because on the Isle of Lang, yeah, Dario, hello, that's the POV. Okay, that's the answer, Jackie. Dario, give us the Dario POV, because he looks insane from the outside, but he's not. He's a I'm doing a Dario stream soon. He's the Butcher King, Dario. He's an important character. Him and Daemon have a lot of parallels. Anyways, I really need to do that one. Nissa Nissa, Child of the Forest. Okay, so the Great Empire of the Dawn, not only were they visiting Westeros to learn the magic of the Children of the Forest, they also included in their empire the Isle of Lang, which has on it the Old Ones, who are green men. Check out the Secret Origins of Green Men, Isle of Lang, to know why I say that with such certainty, because it's definitely true. So they, the god empresses of Lang, who are like green women, essentially, did they marry the god emperors of the Great Empire of the Dawn? Quite possibly so. It's kind of implied in the title. So yeah, I think that the the god emperors carried around on a pearl palanquin. Is that green seer talk? I don't know. But yes, you can see there's a lot of clues that the original Dragon Bond, which would have been created in the Great Empire of the Dawn, not Valyria, was involved with green seer stuff, both on the Isle of Lang and in Westeros. So probably the Dragon Bond and all this hybridization goes back to green seer magic. Because of course it does. The others and all the ice magic is heavily wrapped up with the weirwoods. So, yeah, I mean, ice and fire are just different kinds of nature magic. They're just extreme forces of nature. Is Dario just sexy Daemon? Well, you could say he's more colorful Daemon. He's also lowborn Daemon. That's the more accurate way to say it. Daemon is born as royal, and Dario is not. But they have the same sorts of solutions to problems. Yeah, so Dany, a lot of people have wondered how Dany and Daemon would get along, and oddly enough, we pretty much have that answer, because Dany's reaction to Dario tells us a lot about how she would react to Daemon. Because again, they have the same philosophy, those two. I am starting to get hungry, guys. So we're an hour and a half in. Probably only going to go for another 10 or 15 and then wrap it up, I would think. So last call for questions-ish, early last call. I will talk about the hammer. Dany likes bad boys, but she also sees through some of Dario's philosophy and questions it as well. I think that's important to point out. Because Dany is not a butcher queen. Okay, so Hammer of the Waters. Check out, we got these two legends. One, Azor Ahai. Azor Ahai stabs Nissa. Lightbringer, this magic weapon, is forged. So it's an act of blood magic. Nissa's strength and spirit and soul goes into the blade. So it's a magic blade, it's blood magic, and the moon cracks around the same time somehow. Okay, so then we have the Hammer of the Waters legend. The Hammer of the Waters legend says that on the Isle of Faces, or maybe at Moat Cailin, there's also the other legend about it, but mostly the story is on the Isle of Faces, children of the forest, actually it says green seers, it doesn't say children, it says green seers, sacrificed captives to the weirwoods. In some versions of the story, it is captive humans, and in some versions, it is their own children of the forest captives that they sacrifice to the weirwoods to call down the Hammer of the Waters. Now, the first thing I figured out was that the Hammer of the Waters is very obviously a moon meteor strike. A regular earthquake couldn't collapse a land bridge that big. A meteor strike could. Absolutely could. And when you talk about a hammer, the hammer is this thing of iron that you slam down onto the ground, which is what a meteor is. It's a thing of iron that slams down on the ground. Then you look at the islands that are left over from the Broken Arm of Dorne, and what do you have? One of them is called Bloodstone, and it's the most important one. It's the biggest one. It's where all the pirate lords like Daemon Targaryen or Oraine Waters declare as their royal seat on Bloodstone. So it's like, what was it? What was that smashed the Arm of Dorne? It was a bleeding star. It was the bleeding star that the Bloodstone Emperor called down. So it's like an I did it sign that George posted, hammered down right there. Then when we go to that great chapter in Dorne, the death of Ari Zokart, there's the sun beat down like a fiery hammer. You know, there's all kinds of clues. The sun spear of Dorne is a picture of a moon meteor. So it's like, yeah, when you're by the Arm of Dorne, the sun throws down spears like they're like fiery hammers. It's like, oh, what is that? Well, that's the sun cracking the moon and making the moon meteor hammers. So once you realize that breaking the moon and calling down the Hammer of the Waters are the same thing, then you start to wonder, was this blood sacrifice of Nissa the same story as the blood sacrifices that called down the hammer? Because both stories have a blood sacrifice that calls down these meteors from heaven, right? Then separately, we started following the Nissa characters and finding that all the Nissa characters are spelled out as children of the forest in various ways. There's a whole podcast series called the Weirwood Goddesses, series. So, Weirwood Goddess. And then I did a live stream called the Weirwood Goddesses where I summed up the previous podcast series that you can check out. That's probably more up to date, the Weirwood Goddesses live stream. So once you realize that Nissa is a children of the forest or a hybrid child of the forest, now the stories really start to sound the same. So Hammer of the Waters, we're slaughtering children of the forest and we call down a moon meteor. Nissa, Azor Ahai, again, we're killing children of the forest and breaking the moon and calling down moon meteors. So it is the same story. The only question is, where did it happen? In Westeros, of course, because even though the Azor Ahai legend is attached to the east, because of the Great Empire of the Dawn, that's where he comes from, his deeds were in Westeros, because that's where the others were defeated. Dragonsteel, Dawn, Sword of the Morning, all that shit. Obviously connected to the Flaming Sword hero. So we know he came to Westeros to fight the others. So where did he kill Nissa? Probably on the Isle of Faces. That's the answer. That probably was on the Isle of Faces. The legend traveled back to Ahai because he's from Ahai. And because the problem spanned the entire world. And so, of course, it would fall out that way. If the original story is the Empire from the East established a toehold in Westeros, and it is there that we had this interaction of the dragon people and the children of the forest magic. Eventually that went wrong. And Azor Ahai decided that instead of marrying a child of the forest, what if I sacrificed her in blood magic after getting her pregnant? And we did unholy things. Well, then we could break the moon or call a comet or whatever, transform into a god man. It's all mixed up together. You guys understand how this goes. But yeah, probably on the Isle of Faces is where this all went down. And it's the same story, the sacrifice of children of the forest to call down the hammer of the waters. It's the same story as Nissa Nissa and Azor Ahai. So it all lines up pretty well. And then the final part of this, and this is in the Pact and the Hammer of the Waters, Timeline Heresies, is that the Hammer of the Waters, they've got the time wrong. The Maesters think that happened way before the Long Night. But if you realize the hammer was a moon meteor, then so a blood orgy shattered the Grand Empire of the Dawn. Kinda, yeah. Kinda. You gotta be careful with those blood orgies. Looking at you, Deftones. So, you've seen The Butcher. That's the video I'm talking about. Oh, man. Where was I about to say? Okay, so, if you realize that the Hammer of the Waters did not fall long before the Long Night, but at the time of the Long Night, well, what happened right after the Hammer of the Waters fell? We're told that the humans and the children of the forest made the pact. And now we're not going to cut down the weirwoods anymore. Now we're going to work together. And the humans are now going to worship the weirwoods. I don't know what religions we used to have. We used to worship the Squishers or Garth the Green, but fuck all that. We're now going to worship the weirwoods. So this makes perfect sense. It's always been a mystery. Why would the first men ditch their old religions and start worshiping the gods of the children of the forest who had been their enemy and who are admittedly kind of creepy with their four-fingered clawed hands? Nibble dick, quiet. Why would they do that? Well, if this all took place during the Long Night, it's easy to figure out. We already know that the children of the forest saved the humans' bacon during the Long Night. We know that the children of the forest helped the last hero survive and helped the first men of the Night's Watch organize to defeat the others and end the Long Night. And they probably showed them how to eat mushrooms down in the caves and hide from all the bad things upstairs in their protected caves. Remember, Storm's End is an old place. It's warded against shadows. Just like Winterfell, just like Bloodraven's Cave, just like the Wall. The children of the forest taught the first men how to ward their caves and refugees. And that's why they build castles around weirwood trees. All the ancient first men castles are built around weirwoods. They didn't put a godswood in their castle. They built a castle around a godswood. They did it at the Night Fort. They did it at Winterfell. They did it at Storm's End. They did it at Highgarden. And the reason why they did that is because following the Long Night, humans, they lost all of their organizations, all of their previous governments, and all that would have been gone. We've had years of drought and starvation and famine and chaos, and then the invasion of the others. And it was only the children of the forest that helped the humans survive. So what happens? They make the pact, and they say, thanks, guys. We will worship your gods, and we will also form this Night's Watch and man the wall and guard against the bad demons, and we will swear our oaths to the weirwoods and green seers. Because that's the same thing. The Night's Watch was formed during the pact between the humans and the children. This is all happening at the same time. And that is why the Night's Watch swears their oaths to the weirwoods, and they say, I will be the sword in the darkness. I will be the shield of the realms of men. It's like they're promising all these things to the weirwood trees when they give their Night's Watch oaths. Why do they owe so much to the weirwoods and green seers? Because that's the only reason that humans survive the Long Night. So moving the Hammer of the Waters to the Long Night makes sense out of everything. It sorts out the whole timeline. And it's obviously true because, again, Bloodstone Island. Okay? There's a book called Lucifer's Hammer. It's about a meteor that George has read. It's by an author he knows. And then there's a million subtext hints. I'm not even getting into that. All the times that dragons and thunderbolts and hammers are likened to each other. Robert and Rhaegar, the hammer slaying the dragon. There's tons of that. But it's really, you can just do it with logic and deduction, just like I did just now, showing you, obviously the hammer was a moon meteor. That means the pact happened during the long night, which is the only time it would make sense to happen. So, of course, it all fell out that way. I'm 100% right about that. I book it. I hope we find out. But I'm just, it just makes too much sense. It just seems like, obviously, it's not I'm right. It's just that obviously is the answer to the mystery. That the Hammer of the Waters was a moon meteor, that the murder of the children that called it down is the same as the murder of Nissa Nissa. Rhaegar's rubies are meteors, yes. Rhaegar is like a moon. Yeah. His meteors fall into the water. There's all kinds of cool stuff that happens. The best Hammer of the Waters evidence is at Moat Cailin and at Pike, because those are the two places that the Hammer of the Water, and in Dorne, because those are the places that got impacted by these meteors. So Theon's chapter at Moat Cailin is full of clues about the Hammer of the Waters being a moon meteor. And Theon's chapters on the Iron Islands are full of, all the sea dragon stuff is about a moon meteor destroying the Iron Islands. And then Robert goes in it. Remember the whole rebellion, the Greyjoy rebellion that was 9 years before the main story? Robert came to the Iron Islands and smashed it with his hammer. And that's all Hammer of the Water symbolism. He broke the crescent wall of Pike, and the first man through was Beric with the flaming sword. So it's like you have a moon crescent, and they got a hammer smashing it, and the flaming sword coming through, and then Robert runs around with this hammer and just smashes the Iron Islands. He smashes everything. Hammer, 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 hammer. And of course, Robert is the storm god himself. He is a green man with his horned stuff. So it's like a green man walks around with his hammer and smashes the Iron Islands. Like, that's the story. It's the green man Hammer of the Waters that was the sea dragon that smashed the Iron Islands. It's the same thing. Gods, I was strong. Yes, that's right. So that's kind of the other part to all this Azor Ahai invading the weirwood net shit, is like, when you see that the hammer was the same. Oh yeah, there's the Durin God's Grief part of it. And I think I missed a super chat or two. Let me go back here. I think that's the first one that I need to do. So Durin God's Grief, who dressed like a green man as well, okay, he challenged the gods, stole the daughter of the wind and sea gods, and then a big storm comes and at their wedding, and it kills everyone. And the only reason that Durin alone survives is because Elenai, with her god powers, shelters him. Knocked down his castle, killed all his wedding guests. Then he rebuilt the castle, and no, I'm sorry, I'm screwing the story up. He built several castles. The final one is the one where the wedding happened and everyone dies. Then he finally builds Storm's End. And it says, forever after, the gods were angry and they sent storms up the narrow sea. So underneath the myth is a description of a changing weather pattern. There was one great storm and flood, not just a storm, but a flood that killed the people on the land. So this is like a tsunami event. Wiped out a castle, all right? And after that, the weather is different. Forever after, now there are storms here all the time, where there wasn't before. That is simply a description of the fallout of the Hammer of the Waters smashing the Arm of Dorne. Because smashing the Arm of Dorne connects the cold, shivering sea and its little extension of the narrow sea down to the warm summer sea. They were previously separated. Now there is a new throughway. So the cold, all the ocean currents of the world would have changed, or at least a lot of them, if something like that had happened in the real world. So now you have, this is why now there are storms that come up the narrow sea where there weren't before, because the weather patterns would change, especially right there. And so then you go back to the legend, it's like, oh, who is the one that's calling down this storm? that is actually about the Hammer of the Waters. Again, it's a horned green man character who challenges the gods. So it's the green man hammer that broke the arm of Dorne. That's the same thing as Azor Ahai. Because again, we're stealing a magic woman. There's always that part of the story too. Listen, I know there's no mythical astronomy involved in this question, but do you think Daemon could beat Aemond in a pure melee with no dragons involved? Yes, because Daemon is more resourceful and ruthless. It's like Aemond might have the strength of youth, but sooner or later Daemon is going to pull a dirty trick. I think that's safe to say. Daemon has more experience as well. Lot 7. One of the 7 women and 16 men who started the Iron Bank. One of the 7 women and 16 men who started the Iron Bank. What's the question, Kirsty? I'm not sure. I don't know about the Iron Bank origins. I do think that the Faceless Men are going to take an increasing role in the story. They're not just going to sort of fade away. I do think they know about magic in the Long Night and stuff, and they're training Arya the way they are on purpose. I talked about that in the Arya Winds of Winter thing, but I don't know about the original key holders and stuff. I don't know what's going on there, what the mystery is. Come back. Would you ever do a video on lesser known sigils? Well, I talk about sigils as much as possible because the sigils, the lesser known sigils, are always created for symbolism, as are the minor characters. Like we did the sunflowers on Sir Parman's surcoat or whatever. Parman Plum, who was the one with the sunflowers outside Renly's tent. I forget. It was some minor character of the Rainbow Guard. He's only there to make the sun sick symbolism right before that scene when the tent is burned. So his sunflowers have a sickly green hue. That's green sickness, the sun getting sick and dying during the long night. That's the only reason that character exists. And George does that all the time. In order to complete the symbolism of a chapter or the narrative, he will use the sigils and the symbolism of the minor characters. So yeah, all the sigils are symbolism. And I bring them up when I'm doing a theory and there's one that's relevant. Like the Iron Island sigils I talked about a lot because their sigils tell the whole story. They've got the stone tree and the black Leviathan and all kinds of good ones. Longtime lurker. Oh, the winch with the moon. That's a great one. It's like, oh, we're going to winch down the moon? Really? How are we going to do that? With the hammer horn. Long-time lurker, first-time chatter. I have a 12-hour sim race soon, so won't be hanging around for long. Just thought I'd say hey. Hey, Mark. Hey. I won't be around long either. What made the neck a marsh region? So that would be the Hammer of the Waters. And the proof is Moat Cailin. Moat Cailin was built out of these giant megalithic blocks. They're the size of a cottage. And they were stacked up 80 feet high to make a curtain wall. So, first of all, beyond the skill of the first men, such as we know. So this was either built by Squishers or Great Empire of the Dawn people or whoever built Pike, I would guess. And Yeen. It's the same as Yeen. Yeen is also built out of cyclopean square blocks of oily black stone. Moat Cailin is black basalt that looks oily in the rainlight. So, for all we know, oily black stone and basalt could be similar or the same thing. Basalt being a black volcanic rock, of course. So, point is, you can't build Moat Cailin in a swamp, son. And you wouldn't. You wouldn't try. It'd be madness. You don't build a castle in a swamp. Who does that? Like, the Cranog swamp is like, it floats, guys. It's not a fucking castle. It's like, I mean, it's an Arthurian reference, but it's not going to be like a giant castle that floats. Moat Cailin most definitely does not float. So it would not have been built when that area was a swamp. It would have been built before. And by the way, Moat Cailin is decimated. It's not just decrepit. Remember, Catelyn describes the blocks as being strewn all over the swamp as if a god had reached down and swiped at the top of the tower and just thrown the toys all over the swamp. It's like insane. So there was clearly a big disaster here, just like at Pike, where you've got the walls, everything's shaking. There's flood waters coming in. Some of the land is subsiding. There's earthquakes. That's how you make Moat Cailin look like it does now. It burned down, fell over, and then sank into the swamp. Yes, there's the line. So yeah, whoever built Moat Cailin, it was definitely the same people that built Yen, and it was definitely built before the Long Night and before the neck was flooded. And that's how we know the neck was flooded in a traumatic event, which would have been the Hammer of the Waters. And that's why there's a messed up legend that's like, maybe the hammer was called down from Moat Cailin. Maybe it was. If you think about it, Moat Cailin, if it's really a castle made of oily black stone, then isn't it very obviously a great Empire of the Dawn creation? Or even you could say a Bloodstone Emperor creation, because the sea stone chair is made of oily stone, and that seems to be from across the sea. And Ashai is all made out of oily stone. Yen is made of oily stone, and it's close to the great Empire of the Dawn. So, yeah, was Moat Cailin where Azor Ahai killed Nissa? That could be. It could be. And it could be that legend got associated with the Isle of Faces because of the Green Men being from the Isle of Faces. And the pact being signed on the Isle of Faces. So, because that's the thing. It says the pact and the hammer were both called down from the Isle of Faces. So, were both events really there? I don't know. So, I feel like Moat Cailin does look like the kind of place where Azor Ahai might have hung out. A castle of oily black stone made of cyclopean megaliths. Maybe he did call it down from there. But it was destroyed in the same disaster that destroyed the Iron Islands, for sure. That's obvious. If a disaster big enough to flood the entire neck and shake Moat Cailin to its foundations happened at Moat Cailin, then that would have affected the Iron Islands. They're just right over to the west on a parallel. So promise me, Ned, pinky swear, little finger. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Christy, but is that a joke that George is making? Maybe. Maybe. He does make jokes like that. Littlefinger is a bastard. Yeah, maybe that's part of his name, like the idea of pinky swearing. It's like, yeah, it's not really something you can trust. Brandon, I'm not sure how to answer that question. Symbolic significance to the Valyrians. Well, the Valyrians' hair looks like metal. This is where I'll give you. All the Valyrian swords are moon meteor clues. Red rain, that's a rain of bleeding stars. Nightfall with a moonstone pommel. It was a moon meteor stone that caused the nightfall, the long night. Nightfall itself proves my whole theory. That's the one sword. Dark Sisters, the moon that got destroyed, on and on. Blackfire, fiery black meteors that, fire that turned out the lights. And then the Valyrians' hair is compared to gold, silver, and platinum white. All three colors are compared to metals. So, why are the dragon people made of metal? Because the dragon meteors are made of metal. Okay? And so all their swords are referring to the meteors, and so they have hair like metal. And that's why George gave them that description, specifically. So there's a good answer to your question. The reason why the Valyrians' hair is gold, silver, and platinum white is because, as dragon people, they are metal. They are just like their swords. They are symbols of moon meteors. They are children of the moon. And yeah, I got to go to bed too, guys. So, what's my favorite thing about Manus? Well, besides the fact that he gelds rapers, his excellent sense of humor, his dry wit. The Horn of Herrick. Yeah, that's a clue too. We'll have to read that chapter with Jamie. All right, guys, good night. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sending me PayPals and Super Chats. I will see you on Sunday. I decided to hold my new video for next week. Needed a little more work. So there'll be live stream on Sunday and then a new video on Tuesday. Cheers, guys. Thanks for coming. And I'll see you on Sunday, which is kind of tomorrow, but kind of 2 days away for me. Peace.